بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
So the next thing, we'll quickly move on with the IOSv. Now, as I said, there are some limitations with iOS. But again, if you're a beginner, I strongly recommend you to start with this. That's how even I started. And you need to move on with using, because once you get used to this GNS3 tool, then you can try some advanced options as you move on, depending upon the requirement. Now, if you are going with advanced options in the future, if you want to use some latest iOS images like 15 dot or 16 dot iOS images, and you want to simulate both the routers and the switches, then basically you have the better option called IOSv. So IOSv is another option. IOL is also there, but IOSv is another option. Second option we'll try to see for simulating the routers and the switches. Okay. Now, what is IOSv? IOSv is a simple form of your image. Like if I just quickly search for IOSv, Cisco IOSv. Now, what is Cisco IOSv? Cisco IOSv, okay, you can find this information on the Cisco website as well. You can also go to the Cisco IOSv download. The multiple websites, so we'll try to see what is exactly Cisco IOSv. Now, as you already know, there are options where you will be, there are some options where you can download the IOSv images. Now, what is IOSv? IOSv is nothing but, like most of the devices nowadays, moves to virtual. So you can have a virtual firewall, you can have the virtual router. You don't need to set up a physical router. You can just go and connect a virtual router, right? That's what the same thing. So Cisco have its own routers and the switches, which are a dedicated hardware. And the Cisco, as many vendors prefer to move to the cloud or move to the server. So instead of having a dedicated hardware, what you can do is you can get the IOSv image, the virtual image, and you can install this either on the cloud where you can simulate the router, or you can install a server as a separate VM, and you can run on a virtual platform. Okay. So which means you have a dedicated hardware, or you can use these virtual images. Now, the same image, what we are doing is we are trying to install this either on the GNS3 or EVNG or anywhere. And then what we'll be doing is we'll be doing the same thing. We are trying to simulate this particular image inside the GNS3 topology or the EVNG topology, and we're trying to simulate the same device, exact same device. So the only thing what you need is you need to have that particular image. So again, as a part of the code, we will be sharing some links where you can find the images. You can download these IOSv images, which will be applicable for both. So I did not add multiple images. So this is something sufficient. The one L3 image, this is the L3 image. L3 means the router image, and this is the this is your L2 image. So you need to have these IOS images downloaded into the option. But again, to run this IOSv or IOL or any images, like even the ASA or anything. So if you're running the iOS, you don't need any VM, GNS3 VM. But if you are going with these images, you need to have the setup. Like again, let's come back to the GNS3. So if I want to use the same thing inside the GNS3 using this IOSv images, so I need to have the GNS3 VM integration. Now there is a GNS3 VM integration. What this basically is, if you see here inside the VMware, now we need to download the VMware workstation, or VMware, basically the workstation you have to download. That's the first step. Again, you can find this VMware workstation in the same drive. You have to download this VMware workstation and install this. And once you download and install this VMware workstation, the second step is you also need to download the GNS3 VM. Again, here I'm talking about GNS3 VM. GNS3 VM is again the VM integration, which is required to run this particular images. So what is GNS3 VM? If you go to this website downloads, you have the option. If you can see here, this is the GNS3 download. And when I click on this download option, it will ask you to log in. I'm not going to log in. Let me see if I have the login already. I can use that login. Normally, if you don't have the login account, you can directly go and create a new account. That is again another option you can always go with. Okay. So once you log in, there will be an option to download. Okay, so you download this. The other software you need to download is the GNS3 VM. Now, whatever the version you are downloading, it should be on the same version. So if you check the drive, I have shared the GNS3 download option, the 2.2.3.2. So you can see these two are the same versions. Or if you are downloading the latest version from the website, you can also use that. So it's up to you. You can still use. This is also one kind of stable version you can use. And what you have to do is you need to go to the VM. Let me go back to my server. Now make sure that you open up this VMware. And there is an option called, you go to File and Open. You have to open this GNS3 VM. This is a VMware workstation which is downloaded. So when you click on this, it will ask you to open, and once you open it, you need to save the location, and it will import the complete 1.5 GB file. And once it imports, this is how it looks. So I'm going to stop this just to show you this. Now you can see there is a GNS3 VM which will be created. Now what we have to do is we have to integrate this VM in the backend with the GNS3. So if you see here, there is a GNS3, but the GNS3 VM is not running. So we go to Edit Preferences. There is an option called GNS3 VM where you have to simply say enable this GNS3 VM at the backend by using the workstation. You can set the RAM, the amount of RAM you can set depending upon your device. Like if you're running 16 GB RAM, a 16 GB machine, you can run, you can set up this like 8 GB or 10 GB like that. So depending upon that, you can select this option, enable this. So every time when you enable this, every time you open up the GNS3, it will also at the back end, it will open up the VM as well. As I have already, as I have just shut down this. So what I'll do is I'll quickly open up this. So you can see it shows the GNS3 VM is not running. So normally when you enable it, it will automatically open and close this VM in the backend. This is mandatory because most of the advanced images which we use, especially the V virtual images, anything, apart from iOS, almost all the images require this VM integration. Okay. Now again, this VM integration might be a challenge a little bit with the laptops. Most of the laptops have this issue of this VM integrations. You'll find normally there is an option. Not sure whether I have this workstation already. I think I uninstalled that VMware workstation on my laptop. But again, if you have this VM settings issues will be there with some of the laptop that you need to check. You need to enable that some of the features. So it might support, it might not support, depends. Okay, anyway, you have to follow that. And I'm assuming my GNS3 VM is ready. Now, for the first time, if you're doing it, will show you the steps. Okay, it'll ask you need to give the IP address, whether it's a DHCP. Normally, I use a DHCP based IP, which will automatically take the IP from my physical subnet, whatever I'm running in my network. So I don't need to do much. These settings is important. And once you do this, there's nothing much you have to do. So once you open up the GNS3, if it is connected to the VM, it will show you anyway. Because at the back end, when you go to preferences and select the GNS3 options, it will automatically go through with the VMware application and it will integrate. So at the end, what you should see is you should see this GNS3 VM running on the right side of the screen. And once you have this, now you can enable other devices like here, what I require. Any device if you're running, the process is similar, whether it is iOS or iOS. So the first thing what I'll do is I'll quickly show you how you need to do this on the GNS3 with IOSv device. So for this IOSv, you need to have the image, which is something you'll find on the drive. the IOSv image, L2 or L3 image. And the second thing, you need to have the appliance file, GNS3 appliance file. So GNS3 appliance file is something you can download directly from the GNS3 website. If you search for IOSv GNS3 appliance, you should be able to go to the appliance file. There is a specific place, a gns3.com marketplace. You can find the appliance files. For every device, you will have an appliance file. Appliance file is like the pre-configured file, which will help you to download. So the most popular, you can see a lot of appliance. So if you want to go and check which devices you can run, you will have the list here already. Normally, I should see the list already here, or you can search for IOSv. The GNS3 appliance files should be able to see. I don't know whether it's an issue with the website or the browser, but I'm unable to open up most of this. There is an appliance file you have to download. Anyway, I already have this appliance file. Now, normally you should see these appliance files download, or you can even find in the drive. I think I have saved some appliance files. If not, so there's an IOSv appliance files. I think I already have downloaded on the server. So let me just quickly see in my download option. It should be there. So we'll go to the file. So if you want to add the appliance file, go to file, and there is an option called import appliance. Now here you need to have this appliance file. I don't have the appliance file. These are the appliance files for the FTD Cisco firewalls and the Windows machines. So I need to download this. So let me just go and download this. Anyway, I'll try to download the appliance file here because anyway, I need this here. So I'm going to simply go and say GNS3 IOSv appliance download. Or you can just go to this IOSv link. That can be another link. It will take you directly to that link. You just simply download this. Okay. It's a free download from the GNS3 website. So you need to download this. It automatically goes into download section. Now I can go to the file and import appliance. From the import appliance, again, I go and say, select this IOSv. Now, when I say IOSv, again, you can see in the backend, you must have this GNS3 VM running, okay, compulsory. Okay, so already this should be running here and it will automatically select that because you cannot run IOS, most of the images you cannot run directly on the local computer. The IOS you can run, but you cannot run this. So when you click on next, just click on next, then it will ask you to upload the image here. Now, depending upon the image what you have, I'll check my local drive where I have saved the similar images for the IOSv. So whatever the version we are running, like I'm running, let me see if this image works 15.9. So I'll create a new version. I'll just say 15.9. Just create a new version, click on create a new version and then click on OK. Now, if you have these images already there, it will prompt you. If you don't have, then probably you need to import the image. So we'll go back to my location where I have downloaded the images. So I need to simply upload this image. Now, this is something you have to do only for the first time because once you have done this, you don't need to do again. So this is my L3 image. It will upload. So depending upon the processing capabilities, it will take 5 to 10 minutes. Or if you're running in a high memory image like 1.5 GB images, especially some firewalls, it will take more time. Now, this is one thing you have to do. And there is one more thing you have to do is you need to also also load this IOSv startup image. This also you can find on the internet, IOSv underscore. Let me search for that. That is just the startup file used for the lab. So let me just quickly go to the same server here, because anyway, these things I have to set up on my server as well. So we have to go and say uh, IOSv startup config image. So this you can find from any of the website. You can just download that particular image. Let us go to the GNS3 website or any specific. This also you have to import. I don't have that. I will startup image. One time only you have to do. Let me see if I have this in mind. These are all the list of devices you can do. There are plenty of big lists. Those are the only images what I use normally. You can see this empty chemo disk. I can use this one, I think. Yeah, this is the image which I can. This is just an empty file which I don't. And you can see this is ready to install. Once you see this ready to install, you can just click on next, and you can see this device comes up, and you can see the list here. We can go to the routers. You can see the device. Just drag and drop and start the device. I'm going to stop these other devices. As of now, I don't need them. So I'm going to stop them. And I already started this. If I go to the console, you can see it is booting the IOSv. And it takes some time because normally it runs with 1 GB RAM. That's something it will utilize for one device. So roughly that is the estimation. So depending upon that, it uses more processing in general. So we should see the booting process goes on. Okay. As you can see, I'm running this VIOS image, running the 15.9 iOS version. So if you have any other latest iOS images from the Cisco, if you have a contract, you can download. You can download and set up those images as well. Now there is one more thing. Quickly, we'll verify this. And okay, so let's wait for this to come up. These things. Now this is something you can do the same way if you are doing. Let me just quickly do the other one as well, the L2 image. So the same thing. If you want an L3 switch, I think L3 switch is already here. I have this one already set up. This is for IOL. Okay, I'll not use this. I will come back to the IOL. Now, if I go to the edit preferences here, not preferences. So again, I have to do the same thing. I have to download the IOSv image. So again, the same option, import appliance. I'm going to select this IOSv. So we'll go to the file, import appliance. Import appliance, the IOSv image running on the GNS3. Just select these options. Now again, for L2 image, you have to download the L2 as well. So that's the reason I don't see this. So there is a separate implants file, iOS L2. You have to download this iOS L2 appliance file from the GNS3 website if you want to simulate the switch. So download this one, because these are something available on the internet. So you don't need, that's the reason I didn't upload them to the drive. You can, because you should also know the options from where you can do all this stuff. So when you select this IOS L2 image, so when you select next, now here we have to select the version. So let's say whatever the version I'm running, the L2 image, it's a different image. So I'll an image. So I'll create a new version. Any name you can just give. So most of these images, and I need to simply import the image what I have on my server for the IOSv. the L2 image. This is an L2 image. Okay, so you'll see clearly L2 VIOS L2. But if you don't see L2, then that is an L3 image. That's how you can simply by seeing the image name, you can differentiate. Okay, you should find these images if you have a contract, Cisco contract. You can also download this. Let me, meantime, by the time it uploads, we'll just simply visit the Cisco website. We'll try to see that information here as well. Let's wait for this because normally these things will take up more processing while it is also doing upload. So let's wait for this to finish up these things. So it's still uploading. So once it uploads, I will be able to use this as an L2 image. Now L2 image is just like the switch, and majority of the switching things you can do on it. But again, as I said, dedicated hardware will have full features. The simulations will not be able to support full features. Which one support, which do not support, it depends on the thing. So you need to just try it out. I cannot even list out which one supports or not. So meantime, you can see here, my router is ready. You can see the setup mode. We can skip the setup mode and we can skip the setup mode here. Meantime, I think this iOS 2 is also ready. You can see ready to install. Click on next. You can give the name iOS L2 image, finish. And once you click on finish, now you can see this iOS L2 iron. This is a switch. And I can also start this. And we'll also go to the console for this as well. So this will also take some time for the booting. Meantime, we'll verify the router here. So this is the router image on the right side. And the left side, you can see this is this image. So you can see this is a VIOS L2 software running here. And the router is still booting up. So they use some extra. The main difference, especially with iOS and iOS V, is iOS V again uses more CPU utilization, especially for one device. You can see the amount of CPU utilization is a little bit high here. You can see almost it uses this one. Again, these devices, I'm running these two devices here. It uses almost like 2.5 RAM. 2.5 is very small for me here, but that's a very small RAM. But you can see here. So depending upon your performance of your device, this is going to take some time. Okay, and normally most of these virtual images for the first time when they boot up, it will take some time, but later on it will come back to the stable. So during the booting process. Now here you can see this is on the router. Now most of this will have the same commands, or you can do almost all those things, what generally we can do. As you can see, there are some gig interfaces. So if you want to add more interfaces, we can always go and add the interfaces by simply going to the configure command, and we can add the interfaces from here. Anyway, you have to power off and do it. Anytime you want more interfaces, you can do it directly from here. And the same thing here, anytime you want more interfaces, you can always go and add from here. Now the same thing, my switch is also finished. Now from here, you can see almost all the routings works, means there's no specific limitations here. So it's more like a virtual router you have in your network. Now this is something important to know because most of the time you will be working even before implementing on a production network, you use these things. And you can see on the switch side, if I say show IP interface brief, I'm able to see a majority of the gig interfaces here. That's the again advantage it supports, and almost all the switching concepts you can implement. Which works, which will not work. Again, it depends on what you know, what you don't know. So any feature you are testing, you just try with the commands. Like you want to verify, let's say spanning tree mode, rapid PBST, or spanning tree mode, multiple spanning tree. You just go and add the command and verify. Mostly, that's how you need to verify. So because Even if I tell you the list, it won't be possible for you to know many of them. So any feature you're trying to implement, just set up the image, figure out what are the commands you have to enable, and then simply go to the CLI and verify. So this is something, another option you can go with, which is a more better option you can go, and the connections, everything remains the same. You just click use this cable and try to connect this G0x0 interface to the interface, and you connect, you build the topologies. It's the same way as you do as you move on. Okay. So this is how you can do the IOSv. IOSv is again the better option or the alternate scalable option, especially if you're doing some more advanced labs at the CCI level. Normally recommended to run these options here. I'm going to stop this as of now. We'll see. We'll move to the next one, that is IOL image, which is also another option again.